When Arkham Knight first came out, there was, shall we say, a point of criticism that was doing the rounds in reviews. A bone of contention that to this day makes me want to perform a root canal on myself with an ice pick. For some strange reason, people think that Batman Arkham Knight should have cut back on Batmobile sequences. I am at this point ready to go and shriek into my Batman pillows.
Too many questions. Too many questions.
So let's talk about this. The Batmobile in Arkham Knight is nothing short of genius.
Who taught you to drive?
Let's dial back the clock a bit. So it's 2009 and Batman Arkham Asylum has hit the scene. It is revolutionary, it is fun, and its combat rewrote action for an entire genre at the time of its release. That first game, it had a Batmobile, but it was either being used for cutscenes, as a punching bag for inmates, or as a reminder that Batman never kills. He'll just brutally maim you.
I will break you, Batman! Then the Bruja! No, Bane. This time I break you.
Holy shit, dude. Anyway, when word of a sequel got out, fans immediately wanted to know if the Batmobile would be making an appearance as a more interactive object this time. Nope, the confines of Arkham City wouldn't allow for it, despite that environment being larger. I would have loved it for a penguin sequence though. So okay, fair enough, third time's the charm, and that third time, get back in your room Arkham Origins, would come in Batman Arkham Knight. This time, players had a chunk of Gotham City to explore, and they did so with a new and improved Batmobile. The introduction of this vehicle alone is still a masterpiece of design, as you gain access to it early on in the game. And I still remember the very first time I saw it. Let me go off on a slight tangent here. So for those of you who followed development on Arkham Knight, you'll know that after the initial CGI teaser trailer for the game, the next big reveal was at E3 2014 at Sony's press conference. I was there, I was in that press conference, and I was barely awake. I'd flown in from South Africa, and thanks to the fact that I have a very real fear of flying brought on from childhood trauma, I had not slept for 3 days. Imagine being in that venue, barely functioning and having just sat through a FIFA trailer. I was about to close my eyes, and just as I was drifting off, vroom! The Batman Arkham Knight trailer shifted into 5th gear, grabbed me by the shoulders and jerked me awake. I was alive, I was wide-eyed, and I was wondering if Shuhei Yoshida would forgive me for drifting off because he was literally standing near me at the time. Nice guy though. Now we fast forward to launch day, and it was finally time for me to summon the Batmobile. I will never forget that scene. You've just mopped the floor with Arkham Knight militia, barely survived a rampaging APC. Batman stands on a ledge where he utters an immortal line.
What are you doing?
Evening the odds.
And right there, you're prompted to even the odds and call in the Batmobile. I will never ever get tired of that moment for as long as I live. There's the kind of magic and power that video games are capable of. When you look at the Batman films, you know that Batmobiles are a huge and memorable part of them. And I don't think any of the movies have forgotten this. Batmobiles are treated like main characters, each one given a proper introduction that's befitting of them. Hell, look how long it took for the Batmobile in the 1989 Batman film to make an appearance. But when it does, it's done with an orchestra turned up to 11, an army of Joker henchmen in hot pursuit. It's 1995, Batman Forever has just hit the cinemas. And in that film, the Batmobile is on display in the opening credits, slowly rotating in view so that you can see a beautiful and horrible bioorganic machine steal the show in those opening minutes. Batman v Superman turns Bruce Wayne's joyride into a mobile homicide machine, while the new Batman movie blends old school technology with nightmarish sound design to create an instant classic. What I'm trying to say here is that when a Batmobile is properly introduced, it is unforgettable. So what's it like to drive the Batmobile in Arkham Knight? To sum it up quickly, imagine steering an angry whale with an eating disorder as you race through narrow city streets while inflicting murder on any infrastructure that's around you. Unlike the Batmobiles that came before it, the Arkham Knight version functions like a Swiss Army knife of speed and brutal power. And that right there is the real genius of developer Rocksteady's design. The Batmobile isn't just a car, it is Batman himself. Ahead of the launch of Arkham Knight, Rocksteady would often talk about how the studio wanted to create a fusion of man and machine to merge two worlds together. Expectations were high for this threequel, and to throw the Batmobile into the game as just another car would have diminished the power of that vehicular symbol. I mean, just look at this design. It is like every car in a Russian oligarch's garage came alive, had a massive orgy, and 9 months later the result was a unique blend of high-speed velocity and overwhelming firepower. This is a car that wants to scream from the rooftops that it belongs to Batman. Batman's bat branding is everywhere, there is hidden symbolism everywhere, and the car has a silhouette that's sharp enough to poke your eyes out. It is one of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen in my life, and it is even better to use. So how do you make a Batmobile as Batman-y as possible? The first thing you've got to do is break down the core gameplay pillars of Batman and figure out what they are. After a couple of games, that's actually really easy to do. The first is movement. Batman is a predator, one who can stick to the shadows and burst out of them to deliver the kind of punishment that only a billionaire with mental issues is capable of. How does the Batmobile replicate those actions? With speed and an almost unstoppable acceleration that takes enemies down before they even know what's hit them. This is a sleek and stealthy Batmobile, but once you put the pedal to the metal, it explodes with an intimidating ferocity that sends criminals running for their lives. The second aspect is detective work. Batman's greatest weapon is his inherited wealth, but his mind is a close second as he has been able to solve mysteries thought to be impossible. And I absolutely adore how the Batmobile is used as a problem-solving tank, whether it be disarming mines or hitting the ground with sonar pulses to uncover more secrets. The third major component is combat, of course. Here's where the Batmobile reveals the ace up its sleeve, as it can instantly transform into an agile tank that can be used in showdowns against organized military forces. Like Batman when he starts punching crime right in its stupid face, using the Batmobile in these sequences means getting into a certain rhythm. And sweet remixed Danny Elfman's score does the Batmobile have a terrific groove that will make you tap your foot with delight. You're throwing explosive shells, dancing around enemy counterattacks, and building up momentum that allows you to unload rockets and EMP bursts. It's a dance of deadly destruction, a tango of death that transforms the Batmobile into a nimble force of nature that no other video game has ever been able to replicate in the years since Arkham Knight has been released. And what's even more amazing to me is just how brilliantly Rocksteady's Batmobile flows between these modes. One moment you're stalking predator tanks that have you outgunned. The next second you're on the run and hiding in alleyways after successfully disabling one of them, perfectly emulating the Batman predatorial action sequences. You're throwing the car around corners as you chase after Firefly, using its tools to overcome obstacles and pitting your mind, machine and reflexes against death traps created by the Riddler. Arkham Knight didn't have too much Batmobile content, it had too little of it. One thing that stuck with me over the years is how Rocksteady knew it had something special on its hands with the Batmobile. The studio had already proven that it was more than capable of reinventing Batman and his world for a modern audience, but the Batmobile was a holy grail that deserved the very best. Speaking to Game Informer a few years ago, game director Sefton Hill explained how the Batmobile would take gamers one step further into the world of Batman. The Arkham games have always been about providing that power fantasy, about being and feeling like Batman, Hill said. We're going to take it further with the addition of the Batmobile in the bigger city. We have known it's what people want. When you're Batman, you do think Batmobile. It's the one key thing we felt we really always wanted to do. And also that refreshes the whole experience, which I really think it does. What we're always trying to do is make every game feel like a new game rather than another episode of the last one. And by the soothing voice of Adam West, they did it.
Better let us handle this. It smells like a trap.
Rocksteady created the best video game vehicle of all time, a righteous expression of power and purpose that will stand the test of time. Whether it's 7 or 70 years from now, there'll never be another in-game car that comes close to Rocksteady's Batmobile. This was a labor of love and passion, a genuine appreciation for the past while looking towards the future. And if you're thinking of trying it for yourself, then you're going to be doing so at the best time possible. You can usually find Arkham Knight for cheap these days, whether it's through a Steam sale, the PS Plus collection on PlayStation, or in a second-hand shop. But don't just get your hands on the regular edition of the game. I highly recommend the Season Pass, which drops an absurd amount of content into Arkham Knight, making Batmobile sections even better. Do you want to race across a winter wonderland using the 1989 Batmobile? Well, there are beautiful races for that. Do you want to burn rubber in a 1966 film set while using Adam West's iconic crime-fighting car? Oh buddy, you are in for a treat. Gorgeously realized races, pulse-pounding challenges, and fascinating alternative Batmobiles. These were all added in the months after the release of Arkham Knight and are well worth experiencing.